Okay, so tell me, how many of y'all recognize this painting? I'll move out of the way. Does this painting look familiar to you? Does it look familiar? I'm sure it does. Some of y'all might recognize it as the cover art for Marvin Gaye's album, I Want You. And if you ever watched the show Good Times, you may have seen it during the closing credits of the show. But do you know about the professional football player turned artist that painted this work? I'm finna tell you about him. Friends, let me introduce you to Ernie Barnes. So Ernie was born in 1938 in Durham, North Carolina. So that means he grew up during the Jim Crow era. Ernie's mama worked for some white people, and sometimes she'd have to bring him to work with her. Well, the family that she worked for would let Ernie, listen to classical music and let him look at some of the books they had. They had all these books with different artists and different works in it, like Michelangelo, Rubens, and he got an interest for art at a very early age. By the time Ernie was in middle school, he was very well versed on the classics. Like, he knew classic artists, he knew paintings on site, but unfortunately he couldn't go and visit any of these places and museums because he wasn't allowed. Remember, segregation. Ernie was bullied a lot as a kid. He wasn't very athletic and he wasn't popular at all. He was very quiet and he just sort of entertained himself by sketching. He had a sketchbook on him at all times. One of the teachers at Ernie's school encouraged him to get into weightlifting because he said it really helped him when he was younger. It gave him confidence and dedication and something to focus on. And it turned out that worked for Ernie too, because soon he was in the gym and he was actually getting into great shape. And by the time he was a senior in high school, he was the captain of the football team. When he graduated high school in 1956, he had 26 athletic scholarships that were offered to him. He wanted to go to Duke, but he couldn't because segregation, so he ended up going to North Carolina College for Negroes. College for Negroes! It is now called North Carolina Central University, by the way, just FYI. At 18 years old, he finally got the opportunity to go to a museum because it had recently been desegregated, so he went on a field trip. So while he was at the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh, he's looking around at all the paintings and he asked the docent, "Hey, where's all the paintings by Negroes? Where's the Negro wing?" And she said, "Your people don't express themselves that way." Basically implying that Black people do not have artistic abilities or talents. He got the last laugh because, spoiler alert, like 20 years later, he would have his own exhibition in that same museum. So how about that? In 1959, he was drafted as a 10th round pick to the Baltimore Colts because before they were the Indianapolis Colts, they were the Baltimore Colts. He had actually been originally picked in the 8th round by the Redskins, but when the Redskins found out that he was Black, they were like, never mind, no Blacks over here. So that's how he ended up with the Colts. After playing for the Colts, he went to the New York Titans. Now, the Titans of New York were a terrible team, according to him. He hated being there. He said the coaches were bad. They didn't have good equipment. He felt that there was just total ineptitude was the word he used. And one of his teammates died after a game. And after that, he was like, nah, I'm out. He left the team. After that, he got an offer to play for the San Diego Chargers, and he was there for 2 years. And that wasn't as bad of an experience. In fact, while he was there, he got interviewed by Regis Philbin. He had his very first professional interview as a professional football player. After that, he got an offer to play for the Denver Broncos. That's where this photo is from. Now, while he was there, sometimes when he wasn't playing on the field, he would sit on the sidelines and sketch and draw. His teammates called him Rembrandt. Then after that, he went on to play for the Canadian Football League, and he played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He injured his foot, and that actually ended his entire professional football career. After he retired from playing football, the NFL actually still kept him on the payroll as a salaried football player. The thing was, he wasn't playing football, he was an artist. The owner of the Jets believed in him so much that he was like, you have more value as an artist than a football player. And he wanted to, basically continue to pay him so he could still do his art. So back to that painting. This was painted in 1971, and it was actually used on the show Good Times. In fact, a lot of the paintings that we see JJ painting are paintings done by Ernie Barnes. Like, this is an Ernie Barnes painting. And you can tell by the style. All the people are kind of elongated and they have like this very rhythmic sway to them. That's the style of his art. This painting is called the Sugar Shack, and this painting was inspired by an experience that he had as a little boy when he snuck into a place he wasn't supposed to be and he watched people dancing, and that memory stayed glued in his mind and he painted it as an adult. Oh, also he dabbled in acting too, including playing a character on Good Times with his own art in the background. So the original Sugar Shack painting is owned by Eddie Murphy, who bought it for $50,000 from the estate of Marvin Gaye. But in 2022, the duplicate went on auction at Christie's, and it was originally $200,000. Guess how much this painting sold for? This painting was sold to Bill Perkins for $15.3 million. Million with an M. Bill said that this was his lifelong dream to own this painting ever since he was a child. So he was happy to jump on the opportunity to do it, and he knew that it was being undervalued at $200,000, so he was willing to pay money for it. He estimates that the painting could be worth $100 million someday. So your homework is to go look up the art by Ernie Barnes. He is a Black American artist that we need to honor. And see if you can find a picture of the art that was commissioned by Kanye. Kanye commissioned him to do a piece for him shortly before Mr. Ernie died. See if you can find it.